By Captain Patrick Lavin and First Sergeant Tony Williams. 7th Dive Detachment, Deep 2, commanded by Captain Troy Davidson and First Sergeant Thomas Christensen. Among the many distinguished military and civilian guests with us this morning are Major General and Mrs. Edward Dorman III and Command Sergeant Major and Mrs. Gregory Binsford. Lastly, we'd like to welcome all attending commanders and Command Sergeant Majors and all family members of the 130th Theater Engineer Brigade. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the invocation given by Chaplain James Carr.
I invite you to join with me in a word of prayer. Let us pray. Merciful and gracious God, as life is filled with blessings each day, we pause now to mark this occasion on this field today and say thank you for the privilege to serve our nation and our people. Lord, thank you for your grace and the life and service of the 84th Engineers under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel. Please watch over he and Amanda and their children in their new role ahead. Father, please grant wisdom to Lieutenant Colonel Busby as he takes the lieutenant leadership responsibilities. Watch over he and his wife, Elizabeth, and their children in your providential care. Grant wisdom to Lieutenant Colonel Busby as he takes the lieutenant leadership responsibilities. there. Father, please watch over who's going today, as they learn from statements for their loved ones. And in those times I pray.
At this time, Mrs. Amanda Garden, wife of Lieutenant Colonel Noe, Mr. David Noe, father of Lieutenant Colonel Noe, and Lieutenant Colonel Noe's children, Savannah and Roman, are being presented red lace by Cousin Sybil, runner-up in the state's Best Order and Seal competition. This symbolizes love and respect for their devotion and loyal support to the soldiers and families of the 84th Indian Battalion. At this time, Mrs. Elizabeth Busby, wife of Lieutenant Colonel Busby, Mrs. Ella Busby, mother of Lieutenant Colonel Busby, and Lieutenant Colonel Busby's daughters, Micah and Elise, are being presented yellow lace by Specialist Carnello, winner of the brigade's Best Order competition, welcoming them to the battalion. Yellow is the color of joy and friendship, and symbolizes the relationship between the battalion soldiers and the Family Readiness Group.
Attention! Now! Adjutant's call!
The adjutant, the officer responsible for accounting for soldiers and forming the unit, is about to form the command. It was first used by the Army in 1874. It advises subordinate commanders to prepare their troops for formation and follow on command.
Now! Parade, rest! Now! Off!
The adjutant's call, sound off, is sounded on a trumpet and is a ceremonial tradition that has opened parades of the American forces for over 150 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the 25th Infantry Division Tropic Lightning Band.
Now, attention!
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, in keeping with military tradition, the reviewing party and commander of troops will now conduct an inspection by trooping the line. In days past, trooping the line enabled the soldiers to physically identify their leaders and allowed the commander to personally observe and evaluate his soldiers and equipment to judge for himself their capabilities to successfully engage and win in combat. The 84th Engineer Battalion traces its lineage and honors, as well as the chameleon symbol, to 31 March 1930, when it was first constituted in the organized reserves as the 602nd Camouflage Battalion, Corps of Engineers. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor on 7 December 1941, the battalion served as the nucleus for the new Engineered Camouflage Unit and adopted the motto, "We Can Shield." The unit was redesignated on 1 April 1942 as the 84th Engineered Camouflage Battalion. Entering World War II in April 1943, the battalion saw action in Italy, southern France, and Central Europe. The battalion deployed to Korea in 1950 in support of the United Nations forces. The battalion participated in all 10 campaigns of the Korean War. It was during this period that the battalion was described as "never daunted" by the South Korean president as he presented the Republic of Korea Presidential Unit Citation to the battalion for bridging the Indian River. "Never daunted" was subsequently adopted as the battalion's motto. The battalion next saw combat in Vietnam, where it arrived on 9 June 1965 at Cam Ranh Bay. This was the first major contingent of U.S. Army engineers to land in Vietnam. The battalion served in Vietnam until its redeployment in July 1972, at which time the colors of the 84th were moved to Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. In 1976, the battalion was redesignated the 84th Engineer Battalion to combat heavy. This diversified the battalion's mission to include construction, combat engineering, and infantry operations. In 2004, the 84th deployed to LSA Anaconda, Iraq, in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom II. While there, the battalion completed over 300 projects for the multinational corps Iraq to improve force protection in Bangladesh, Palau, and the Philippines. Currently, the 523rd Engineer Company and elements of the 95th Engineer Company are deployed to the Republic of Korea in support of the Army's rotational forces. The 84th Engineer Battalion has received 10 meritorious unit citations, 3 Army Superior Unit Awards, and added 30 34 campaign streamers to his colors. The commander of troops is retrieving the national colors of the United States of America. She will march them forward to render honors. For more than 2 centuries, the Stars and Stripes have been the banner under which Americans have lived, fought, and died. More than a symbol, the flag is the embodiment of our government, people, ideals, and values. This activity stems from early Roman days when the leaders laid down their weapons and shields and came forward to their emperor. By doing so, the leaders signified to the emperor that the officers of their command were loyal to him. In early American cavalry tradition, it was used to give troops special instructions prior to going into battle. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the national anthem of the United States of America. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the official party will take the field to conduct the passing of the battalion colors. The colors represent not only the unit, but also the unity and loyalty of its soldiers. They are the commander's symbol of authority, representing his responsibilities to the organization. The passing of the colors from Lieutenant Colonel Noe to Lieutenant Colonel Busby is significant in many ways. transition is symbolic of the transfer of command responsibilities to a new leader. In his role as the battalion's Command Sergeant Major Ortega will pass the colors to Lieutenant Colonel Noe, signifying his last act of allegiance to Lieutenant Colonel Noe. In his position as Senior Commander, Colonel Albert receives the colors from Lieutenant Colonel Noe and presents them to Lieutenant Colonel Busby. Thus entrusting the unit to his command and care. In accordance with paragraph 2-5 Charlie, Army Regulation 600-20, the undersigned assumes command of the 84th Engineer Battalion, 130th Theater Engineer Brigade, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, effective 1 June 2016. Signed, Michael Busby, Lieutenant Colonel, Engineer, Commanding. Command Sergeant Major Ortega then receives the colors from Lieutenant Colonel Busby, signifying his charge to maintain and safeguard the colors. Command Sergeant Major Ortega returns the colors to the battalion color bearer. Gentlemen, the commander of the 130th Theater Engineer Brigade, Colonel Blaise Albert.
Aloha, everybody. Thanks for coming today to this great ceremony. Major General Mrs. Dorman, Command Sergeant Major and Mrs. Binford, Command Chief and Mrs. Villarreal, friends and family, especially Lieutenant Colonel Retired David Noe and Mrs. Ella Busby. Thank you very much for attending today's ceremony, one in which we recognize the accomplishments of the 84th Engineer Battalion under Lieutenant Colonel Eric Noe's leadership, and we pass the awesome responsibility of command from Eric to Lieutenant Colonel Mike Busby. First, I want to thank the Tropic Lightning Band for making this ceremony so much more special. Chief, you and your soldiers sound fantastic as always. Thank you so much. I also want to tell all the soldiers out in the field that you are my heroes. Thank you for the effort you put into making this time-honored tradition so professional. I'd like to start by describing a few of the things these amazing soldiers accomplished over the last 2 years. Almost 2,000 individual deployments were executed on behalf of the PACOM and USAPAC commanders. So obviously many participated in more than one of these missions. These deployments took place in Cambodia, Nepal, Korea, Alaska, Guam, Bangladesh, Thailand, Vietnam, New Guinea, Vanuatu, Palau, China, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, Marshall Islands, Saipan, PTA, NTC, and JRTC, where they built roads, schools, and clinics, responded to natural disasters, trained partner armies, assessed and repaired ports, surveyed airfields, provided mobility and survivability to our maneuver brothers, and built and improved relationships with our partners and allies. And here on Oahu, the 84th built roads, cleared fire breaks, maintained the Lightning Academy, constructed parking lots, built ranges, fixed electricity, plumbing, and structural integrity of numerous facilities, and completed a multitude of designs. Truly remarkable. But more remarkable is looking further to see who it was completing all of these important missions. It was Sergeant Hooks in Renteria, USPAC's NCO and Soldier of the Year. It was Master Sergeant Miles, Staff Sergeant Shinzing, Freeman, Sergeants Clayton, Taylor, Zeeley, and Specialist McFan who won the Color Guard of the Year for USAPAC. It was Captain Burgoon who won the General Douglas MacArthur Leadership Award. It was First Lieutenant Smith and Sergeant Renteria who won the Engineer Regiment's Grizzly and Van Ottrop Awards for being the best platoon leader and the best soldier. It was Master Sergeant Hawkins and Captain Valencia who placed 10th in the grueling 50-hour-long Best Sapper competition. It was Command Sergeant Major Ganasius who won a Military and Meritorious Service Award from the Federal Asian Pacific American Council. It was Chief Brown and her team that won the 40th and 41st Joint Culinary Arts Competition at Fort Lee. It was Staff Sergeants Curry and White, Sergeants Bailey, Bankhead, Gidley, and Walcott, who were distinguished honor graduates at ALC and BLC. It was First Lieutenant Pusey and Sergeant Ruby who were recognized for their work in the School Partnership Program, and Sergeant First Class Avila, who received an ECO Award for volunteering with youth. It was the soldiers of the 14th Construction Management Team who won the 2015 National Environmental Excellence Award. 643rd Engineer Company, the one that used to Supply Excellence Award. And I'm only going to stop here because it isn't my intention to reward this superb unit by being too long-winded. But they have accomplished a great amount, and they've done it with excellence. And I will tell you without a doubt that the success would not be this robust without the leadership of Eric Noe. For over 2 years, he poured his heart and soul into making this unit great, and he did so with the most personal touch of anyone I've ever seen leading over 1,000 soldiers. When we did Eric's 360 evaluation, the word cares appeared more than 20 times. Eric spent countless hours conducting one-on-one counseling, sharing counsels to improve the health of his formation, and growing the credentialing program, to include those of his low densities, like the mechanics, so that one day when soldiers left the Army, they would get credit for their experience. He taught the basics of maintenance and supply discipline and why it was important to take ownership of your equipment. He demonstrated the vision to improve the engineer regiment's ability to provide geospatial services to the Pacific, and increase the engineer diving capability by actively and creatively procuring much-needed equipment. Eric, I can only scratch the surface of your contributions to this battalion. But I want you to know how much we appreciate you, and thank you for everything that you did to lead these soldiers to achieve excellence, to ensure your battalion was ready to answer the country's call, and to solidify another phenomenal chapter in the legacy of the Never Daunted Battalion. Amanda, I want to thank you equally for your dedication to the battalion, for giving of your time to greet new soldiers, attend FRG steering committee meetings, organize and attend numerous family fun days throughout the year, and provide your advice to our great spouses. But thank you most for being a fantastic wife to Eric and mother to Savannah and Roman. There is certainly no way that Eric would have been this successful without you. Now, a company commander of mine once told me that when one good person leaves, another comes in. And that's certainly the case here with Lieutenant Colonel Mike Busby. Mike actually started his career in aviation, but it was quickly determined that he was too smart. The Army said he had to become an engineer. Mike served in many important engineer positions during his distinguished career, and also comes with experience in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, where he served in the Buffalo District. We have been extremely fortunate to have Mike serving in the TSC G3 and as the brigade's deputy commanding officer over the last year. He understands the importance of our mission in the Pacific and the significance of the unique capability his organization brings to bear. He is ready to continue the tradition of excellence for which 84th Engineers are known. Elizabeth, as the other half of this great team, we are thrilled to death to be getting you along with Mike. Our spouses are lucky to have another strong leader to advise them. Soldiers of the 84th Engineer Battalion, keep up the fire. You are my heroes, and I thank you and your families for your hard work and sacrifice. Sustain the force and Sappers in.
Ladies and gentlemen, the former commander of the 84th Engineer Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Noe.
Aloha and iko mai. That's about the extent of my Hawaiian. But I want to say thank you very much for coming out here today. Major General Mrs. Dorman, Command Sergeant Major Mrs. Binford, Command Chief Mrs. Villarreal, Command Sergeant Major Tate, Colonel and Mrs. Albert, Command Sergeant Major Mrs. Obeda, Colonel and Mrs. Miller, Sergeant Major Flournoy, Colonel and Mrs. Kelly, Command Sergeant Major Shen, Colonel and Mrs. Sally Fenning, distinguished guests, fellow commanders, family, friends, and fellow soldiers, thank you for attending today's ceremony. What an amazing group of soldiers in front of us today. Thanks to the 25th IT Band for making this ceremony right with the look and sound of professionalism. Thanks to the soldiers of the Never Daunted as well that have served the battalion so well, including 95th Sapper, which is redeploying as we speak after 9 months in Korea, and 523rd Horizontal that has just deployed for 9 months. Round of applause, please, these great soldiers. We pray our fellow soldiers will stay safe and return home soon. 28 months ago, I wanted to reach out to the soldiers as soon as possible to see what an impact I could make. a mentor of mine has suggested passing out 3x5 cards to each soldier to ask them to write down sustains and improves and collect them after my command philosophy brief. This gave them freedom to respond in anonymity, and I would have honest answers I could immediately attack as the new battalion commander. One of the first cards I read, with great expectation I might add, was one soldier's improve, which was, quote, I don't know, I was distracted by the battalion commander's awkwardly placed bald spot. Man, soldiers will keep you grounded, won't they? That's what anonymity gets you. But for the most part, I also found a lot of concern about family time, training management, an officer-centric organization, and other issues. 28 months later, we have, together, built this battalion that has achieved the success eloquently highlighted by the brigade commander in his comments. And when I say we and together, I mean the soldiers, NCOs, officers on the field and in the stands, coupled with the agencies, civilians, and families that support us. Unfortunately, I was unable to improve the awkwardly placed bald spot, and indeed that issue has actually expanded over the last couple of years with some unceasing relentlessness. Good thing hair loss is indicative of great leadership, right, sir? Some more than others. General Dorman and Colonel Albert, thanks for being the commanders I needed in battalion command. True believers in mission command who let me execute within their intent and resourced us with what we needed to win. General Dorman, I have learned from our discussions and our concern for the Army's future. You have more than sustained the reputation of a Tennessee gentleman, and I am glad to have served under your command. Colonel Albert, you've come a long way since we met and drove at midnight in a blizzard on Missouri's I-44 from Kansas City to Fort Leonard Wood. I have met very few soldiers, indeed people in my life, who are as selfless and steadfast as yourself. Your standards-based leadership served the 84th well in driving our readiness and amplifying our excellence in mission accomplishment. Thank you for your leadership and friendship. Sergeant Major Obeda, thanks for setting the ceremony up and advocating for me over these many years. With respect to Captain Whipple, United States Navy, who's in the house today, let me highlight the captains and sailors of our 3 ships, partnerships, relationships, and leadership. Thanks to the military family life counselors, military medical professionals, behavioral health specialists, chaplains, safety personnel, FRISAs, military police, and agencies who work every day to take care of our soldiers. Your work is underappreciated as no other profession on the planet I can think of. Invest as much in our soldiers' quality of health and life as you do. Thanks to Sally Fenning and her team at DPW for their exceptional partnership in supporting our soldiers' training. Our soldiers have benefited from troop construction opportunities and apprenticeship programs, normally at great advantage to DPW, the post, and our training, and when it doesn't pay, Sally supports us anyway. The real cost otherwise is a lesser prepared force. Thanks to our partners at PTA and 249th Prime Power, thanks to 303rd MEB and 9th MSC, United States Army Reserve, who have provided a great deal of support that should have been in place some time ago in mutual training opportunities and sustainment, ALC slots, and mobile training teams. What an incredibly capable organization before they leaned forward to assist others. Thanks to the gentlemen from 3rd Brigade who took the 84th for a vacation through Fort Polk, Louisiana. Colonel Kelly, thanks for showing me that your faith and values can sustain you when you are handed 5,000 soldiers from 10 battalions from all 3 components of the Army that haven't trained together. Your patience is the crucible of a CTC rotation, and in Louisiana heat is an example I will not soon forget. Your team of battalion commanders adopted me and kept my sense of humor while also demonstrating some immense class. Thanks for putting your faith in Never Daunted and letting us build survivability for the largest fire base since Vietnam with the Never Broken, provide thousands of gallons of fuel to Hammerhead as partners with Mustang, and try our hand to rear area security for Cacti, Wayfinder, Raider, and No Fair, where our 643rd Vertical Platoon scored the highest kill rate of any of the platoons. Okay, I might have embellished that a bit. But they are still formidable and intimidating when they menacingly wield their pipe wrenches, saws, and their nail guns. Thanks to my 8 TSC battle buddies, and Omar, Don, Jim, Sean, Steve, Toby, and Paul, your friendship bridged a lot over my opening months of command and beyond. Our S3, Scott Catalanish, compared the battalion to a couple of football teams, a baseball team, a couple of basketball teams, a water polo team, and a chess club, all under one coach and playing in multiple locations simultaneously. The truth is, there are several coaches and the players are professionals. Thanks to the over 70 lieutenants, hundreds of NCOs, 6 tactical officers, 28 staff captains, 27 company commanders, 25 first sergeants, 4 battalion ops sergeants, 4 battalion S3s, 3 battalion XOs, and 2 command sergeants major that have kept up with the pace of leading upwards of 1,200 soldiers in 7 companies and 4 detachments. And for the thousands of soldiers who have served with the Never Daunted, I am nothing without your steadfast dedication to the mission, the unit, and each other. Major General Dorman, sir, it is because of their devotion to each other that I return to you a formation that has accomplished all missions with 0 loss of life to suicide or accident. We did lose one of our own to cancer, and I'd like to take a moment to remember Specialist Miarka Singino, who was special to us. It is fitting that we remember Specialist Singino and treasure the time we have on this earth as we make the most of it. Never Daunted, you absolutely have to be tactical and technical experts, able to fight and win our nation's wars. And you have to raise your families. But that isn't enough. More than the dictators who continue to threaten world peace, we have significant national security issues that will need your leadership. And we have to recognize that our leader development is the most important thing we do. The world's population is estimated to reach 9.6 billion by 2050, and we can't feed the 7.2 billion we currently have. We have a crisis in climate change, more severe drought, larger floods, massive powerful storms, dwindling water aquifers, increasingly ineffective antibiotics, increasing unemployment and lack of opportunity, skyrocketing costs in education, healthcare, and retirement, growing social unrest, and divisive politics. It seems that many people want to rule the world, but many, or few, I should say, want to lead it. I know it won't be easy, and I can't promise you it'll be fun to lead, as it likely won't make you famous or rich. But we need you to lead nonetheless, in and out of our Army. Prepare yourself through school to be competent, confident, and competitive while you are in uniform, and even more so out of uniform. You have already separated yourself from your peers by your oaths, but your duty will not end at your ETS or retirement. Good luck, and if there's something I can do to help, send me a note. I'd like to know how you are making a difference. Sergeant Major Ortega, thanks for training this old soldier over our 20 years together, crossing paths. Please take care of these soldiers and advise Colonel Busby as well as you have me. Mike, I sincerely wish you and Elizabeth the best in leading these soldiers to the next level. They deserve everything you bring to the table and more. Thanks for making the transition smooth, and I look forward to continuing our friendship into the future. Dad, thanks for flying out here again and making this ceremony special. Savannah and Roman, your daddy would be home at a decent hour tonight. Amanda, thanks for letting me fulfill my passion in serving this battalion. I can't thank you enough for the tremendous support, countless weights you have lifted from my shoulders, and your nonstop zeal for life. You and our kids are the sheer joy of my life, and I am so very undeserving of the gift God has given me in you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. Sustain the force, Sapper Zen, Never Daunted, the Viking is exiting the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, the commander of the 84th Engineer Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Busby.
All right, the most important speaker of the day, right? Last one. Major General and Mrs. Dorman, Command Sergeant Major and Mrs. Binford, Command Chief and Mrs. Villarreal, Colonel and Mrs. Albert, Command Sergeant Major and Mrs. Obeda, other distinguished guests, visitors, fellow command teams, family members, friends, and most importantly, Never Daunted soldiers. Thank you for taking your time to be a part of this change of command ceremony. Colonel Albert, sir, thank you for trusting me with this opportunity to command such a unique and superb organization. To my wife, Elizabeth, I love you very much. Thank you for your sacrifices that you have made for the kids and I. And I promise things will slow down after this tour. Mom, thank you for all you have done to make me the person that is standing before all these fine people. Eric and Amanda, the support you have given Beth and I has made this transition as easy as possible. The past year has proven how great of an impact you have made on these soldiers, and you have left me truly with the greatest engineer battalion in the Army. Command Sergeant Major Ortega, we have a strong and proud legacy to continue, and I look forward to working with you and the soldiers of our battalion. And finally, to the Never Daunted soldiers, I'm honored and humbled to have the privilege of serving as your commander. Now let's get after it. And now for the most famous words in all military speeches. All policies, procedures, and SOPs remain in effect. Sustain the force, Sappers in, Never Daunted.
This last procedure, and the most traditional part of the entire ceremony, is the pass and review. From the earliest times, the pass and review has demonstrated the glory and strength of the assembled troops. Passing before you now are the proud soldiers of the 84th Engineer Battalion. The commander of troops is Major Elizabeth Waldron from Sarasota, Florida. Her staff consists of the operations officer, Major Scott Catalenich from Roscommon, Michigan, the intelligence officer, Captain Robert O'Rourke from Haddonfield, New Jersey, the logistics officer, Captain Alexander Smith from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and the engine, Second Lieutenant Benjamin Gross from Little Rock, Arkansas. The 25th Infantry Division Tropic Lightning Band is under the direction of Chief Warrant Officer 4, Jonathan Ward. The drum major for today's ceremony is First Sergeant Jordan Davis. Approaching the reviewing stand is the 130th Field Infantry Division, led by the command chief of Captain Paul Antelope from Florida. First Sergeant Baltimore, Maryland. Please stand and render the appropriate honors to the national colors as they pass. Today's color guard is led by Command Sergeant Major Sergio Ortega from Chicago, Illinois. Approaching the reviewing stand is 523rd Engineer Company, Hawaii, led by the command team of Captain Jared Birchborn from Amherst, Massachusetts, and Sergeant First Class Carol Dane from Chicago, Illinois. Approaching the reviewing stand is the 561st Engineer Company, led by the command team of Captain Jesse Kane from Everett, Washington, and First Sergeant Katrina Kine from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Approaching the reviewing stand is the 643rd Engineer Company, led by the command team of Captain Patrick Lavin from Rumson, New Jersey, and First Sergeant Tony Williams from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Approaching the reviewing stand is the 7th Flag Detachment, led by the command team of Captain Troy Davidson from Auburn, Washington, and First Sergeant Thomas Christensen from Nampa, Idaho. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of the 8th PSC March, the Engineer Song, the Army Song, This concludes today's ceremony. Please join us in welcoming Lieutenant